This is a series in transformation tools. Today we are going to talk about Kata model for the continuous improvement. So what is a Kata? So Kata is a structured practice for consistent improvement. It is a Japanese word which means a system of individual training exercises in karate and other martial arts. Kata methods for improvement emphasizes the plan do checked align cycle and is very useful in driving continuous improvement using experiments. So what are the steps of Kata improvement model? So let's think of a problem. Let's say we want to solve a problem and let's this maze represent a problem. So in the maze, what we have is to reach from the red arrow to the green arrow. So our target is to reach the red dot. So what is the problem? The problem is to fundamentally start from the red arrow and reach the green arrow and the red dot. So the solution would look something like this. In a kata methodology, what we will do is first, after understanding the problem, which is the step one, we will need to set up the baseline. So baseline is in terms of what is the current performance of the process or the problem that we are trying to solve. So let's say the red line here represents the current journey that we are able to travel, and we are getting stuck here. So what is the next step? The next step is to determine the target performance. Let's say since we have got stuck in the maze in the first attempt, let's find the next route which will take us to the next potential bottleneck in the maze. So that becomes our target. So in this particular case, let's say this blue line represents that target in the first experiment that we did. So now we know we have moved forward from a baseline and established a new baseline, and we have arrived at the new baseline with some effort. So how is the last experiment that we will do will allow us to reach to the end of the maze? So in this particular case, the black line is the solution or the final goal to which we have reached. So what are the steps in the kata improvement model? So the step one is to understand the problem to be solved. Step two, establish the baseline of the current condition. Step three, establish the next target condition. And the step four, towards the target with the experiments. So the step one, two, and three are typically the planning steps, where you are understanding the problem, you are establishing the baseline, and you are identifying the target condition where you need to reach. And the step four is basically the experiments that you will do to reach the target conditions. And these experiments are the iterative experiments, or the in terms of software development, these are the agile methods that you deploy to arrive at the finished product. So the step one, two, and three are the planning steps, and the step four typically do check and align. Now, while these are the methodology is very clear and very simple in terms of managing and how we deploy the plan do check act or plan do check align, how do we keep record of all the work that we are doing? And it is very important because that becomes the baseline. How do we really determine that the work has been done and we have moved the needle? So in order to do that, let's create a PDCA cycles worksheet. So let's open an Excel worksheet. Let's call this as a PDCA cycles record form. PDCA cycles forms, or we can also call as the record of experiments. So let's say, what is the problem that we are going to solve? Problems can also be called as obstacles. What is the process that we are trying to solve? The date when we are making this PDCA sheet, who is the learner, and who is the coach. A coach is an integral part of the Kata model for improvements. It's important to discuss with the coach the approaches and the steps that you are taking in terms of solving the problem. So the part of the first step, what we will do is we can add something like a serial number here. And let's call these steps as steps or tests that we are doing. And what do you expect? Right? The third column would be what happened, and the fourth column would be our learnings. What did we learn? Right? Let's add question marks here. What we would do is let's say some numbering here to keep us identifying in terms of what are the experiments. So these are the number of experiments or tests that you are doing. So let's say what, or rather than keeping this as one, let's say this is one, and here we can add more details to the steps in terms of what, how, and when. So basically any experiment that you will do, you will basically capture the experiments details in terms of what, how, and when. Here essentially what we are expecting to happen. So as a result of this, what is the key metric that we are going to impact? So in terms of here, what we can say is my forecast or prediction. Of the change or of the experiment, right? So record then, let's say that you were expecting the cycle time to reduce by 50%, but the cycle time actual was reduced only by 30%. So what happened is exactly what you will write here. So actual performance that was recorded. And then what is the learning? So learning essentially basically you're talking about what were the conditions of the experiment and how did you experiment and what were the learnings that really indicated or the root causes in terms of the actual performance. So learning that confirms your original hypothesis, right? So again, prediction could be also in the form of what is my hypothesis, right? I can also mention it here as like what is the hypothesis, right? So again, a simple spreadsheet where you can capture the details, and we can then do some formatting, and let's color this as nice blue, some white here, and let's say uh, we'll capture say up to say 5 experiments, and let's give it a border and make it a little bit wider. So this is a simple kata sheet that you can create, and to capture the experiments, define what is expected out of the hypothesis or the forecast of the experiment. So the first two columns essentially are talking about plan, and the second column, two columns, are essentially talk about the check. So again, these are something that allows you to capture the experiments, the changes that you have made to the process, and the results that you have achieved. So essentially, in other words, this is a practical implementation of the plan, do, check, align, or plan, do, check, act cycle. And thank you, and keep watching Transformation Tools.